from an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people, the 2024 presidential campaign enables time to return all US land back to their rights owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast. Techno-Communism will win.
Welcome back to the Ben Zion program. This is a show that I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep it short. It was requested by Frank, a friend of the show, and a person who I believe is doing their level best to support a more real form of tech-accelerationism. The ideas that I have tried to articulate on this show, and that is not done by almost any person that is described as a tech-minded person. These are people who operate within a fascistic system, and they have taken on techno-fascistic ideas and strategies, so much so that they will defend all manner of unsustainable and unseemly, inhumane institutions of the Western world in their what they think is the defense of their ordinary transhumanist identity. Nothing terribly ordinary about that, but that's their thinking. This is not good. Most people are deeply misguided in this country. They are not willing to fight for a humane and sustainable economic system, even though they face, they're looking down the barrel of capitalism's climate apocalypse, which is in all likelihood going to render this planet unlivable for large mammalian life forms like ourselves, possibly by the end of this century, shortly thereafter. That's not a real great thing to happen, but people feel that they have... I talked to a lot of people lately about this artificial sweetener product that was revealed to have be doing some damage to major organ systems, not so good for your ticker. And I said to a bunch of people, so now that you know this product has been put in chewing gum and all kinds of things that you would just kind of pick up. Now that you know this, that this is going to hurt your heart, will you make a point of not consuming this product? And virtually none of these people actually said that they were going to make a point. 1 in 20 of the people that I spoke to. This feeling, when I've often said on this program that people have been lulled into a sense of complacency about one particular problem of this kind, a coronavirus. 1,500 to 2,000 people have died of coronavirus in the last week every day. And that's more or less consistent with the numbers from the earliest days that this became a pandemic. And yet people have convinced themselves that they need to take no further action, that they perhaps vaccinated, or even if they're not vaccinated, they just have given up. And I didn't always emphasize the giving up in this. This is a problem of people in this nihilistic mind frame, rather nihilistic mind frame of late-stage capitalism, wherein they do not think that they have any recourse to fix these problems. So the people who are using this artificial sweetener that's been in literally thousands of products around the world, and still is, it's not really being banned, their feeling is that you're just wading through filth of this kind every single day under consumer products of a capitalist kind, and so you have you're playing Russian roulette whether you get rid of this one product or not. So what's even the point? And that's not a great world. That's the world of I've talked on this show a couple of times. I've talked to a lot of people in recent days about a petition to end AI, and these people are saying that AI products of a particular kind, you already know what these are a risk to the world. The risks to the world are already extremely high. These forces are already in play. Everyone knows that. And it would seem that these people like Elon Musk, are really talking about risks to the institutions that are killing the planet. That's to say, a flattening of the playing field caused by being able to use generative AI and strong digital assistance in this case to make changes in the world more easily with working with folks than you otherwise could have. And so who are these people who are against AI, who are signing this petition? These are people who are heavily invested in an already unsustainable system, and they're saying, oh, people will die. People are already dying. The planet is already dying. If your response to disruption of systems that are killing the planet is, this is disruptive, we can't do it, you, my friend, are fascist. And I talked about on this show how this came to be cemented by the fascist USA in the course of the 20th century. As you may recall, there was a global Great Depression, food shortages everywhere, including a critique of the USSR is that there was a famine there. There was an equivalent famine in the United States, but nobody refers to this as a genocidal act, even though the United States has a long, long track record of genocidal acts of various kinds. The USSR did not, never did. But in the course of the 20th century, people started to realize around 1940 that they had been brought out of this depression, which almost, and should have, ended capitalism. They just barely squeaked by, maintaining their crypto-fascist strategies, preserving private wealth, propping up ruling elites. They realized that the thing that did this was militarism, warmongering, war profiteering, things that, if the world were run by sensible people, say women, this sort of thing would never be considered. Not just women, any sensible person, but it does tend to be more of a feminine energy. So they realized that organizations I've mentioned, like the RAND Corporation, but there's a huge number of institutions, not just one stupid little think tank, that have upheld this. And they realized that they could create something that would allow them to maintain this most successful fascist country as a fascist country in perpetuity, and that is never-ending war. And that is exporting warfare to every corner of the earth, unending foreign wars. And in that time, the United States has killed at least 20 to 30 million people directly or through its war profiteering. And I think the number is larger. I've said that in 150 years, it's accurate to say that the United States has slaughtered 100 million of Earth's people. So you can extrapolate from there. This is a horror show, right? This is one of the worst countries. King Leopold killing folks in the Congo, Adolf Hitler killing folks in around the European continent. They would have been proud of this number, 100 million people. They would have said, "Ooh, those guys are real champions." That's the United States. That's the country you live in. That's a country that you whitewash every single day, almost all of you. If you're watching this program, if you're an English-speaking person living in the United States or the English-speaking world, that's something that you do. Maybe subscribers to this show don't do it quite as much, but we're all guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. We're all guilty of it more or less on a daily basis. So this shift to an unsustainable capitalism in the course of the 20th century was requested that I talk about the role that Reagan played in this. This is already something that was happening, but I think that this January 1981 swearing in of Ronald Reagan and the events around that time and thereafter do represent a shift from this unsustainable capitalism into even more destructive and faster-paced unsustainable hypercapitalism. There's a lot of words that we can use to describe that transition, but I think that hypercapitalism, which is not a bad word, it's not really a pejorative necessarily in this fascist-minded Western world. It should be. I think that's a pretty good way to describe it, because it informs a lot of what's discussed on this program, which is advanced algorithms and emerging technology influencing these things to the detriment of the well-being of human beings who live today and are living out the span of their lives, to the detriment of the sustainability of the earth, a longer-term concern. Those things are not so different because we already know that there are a lot of climate refugees in the world now. My city, I just read an article that referenced a gentleman who I almost had a meeting with yesterday. That was crashed a meeting. But I didn't get into that meeting. I met with some freedom fighters. I won't mention the organization or name. One of them, but I almost had a meeting with a few of them yesterday. And one of these people who I will call a freedom fighter is a person who has some influence in this area and was able to negotiate for a new set of water rights affecting the Southwest. And This is a problem for the city, the city of Phoenix is a city where I've spent a lot of time. This city probably is going to be one of the cities in the Western world that's more affected by the problems of climate change, because we might not have enough water. All of you already know of a similar city in a similar situation, the city of Las Vegas, and the problem of Lake Mead. There are climate refugees all around the world. Tens of millions of them, in fact, to some degree, have been displaced. Even just in one country, Pakistan, experienced that last year. Many people have been displaced already by this kind of problem. The United States will tend to be less affected by this than others because of the people who have caused this problem, the people who started scheming in 1940 and thereafter to basically create this problem. If the United States had never existed, this planet would still be, perhaps still be something that would be likely to sustain human life forms in 120 years. That's a good deal less likely because of this entity, which I call the fascist United States, which you just referred to as ordinary, good, salt of the earth people. It's not that. I think it's a little bit problematic to single out Reagan as the bad capitalist, because these are all bad capitalists. You can look at every president in living memory, save one, who was also a capitalist, but more of an isolationist, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was, all of the others more or less operated as a degree, highly or overwhelmingly CIA assets. People who, everything that they've done in the world stage is consistent with protecting the military-industrial complex and this hegemonic impulse that I described already. The one person who said, hey, maybe let's not kill the whole planet. Hey, maybe let's just kind of stick to our own stuff. Hey, let's not have something as evil as the CIA rat-fucking everyone in sight. And what happened to him? He got his head blown off. All of these presidents are not so different from Reagan. And you'll see a graphic of one president who was a popular person undeservedly in the US and on the world stage, maybe less so. A person who pretended to be a socialist to get elected, pushed up to using socialist language, and then operated in not policy-wise. Many of his policies were more right-wing than that of this person Reagan. And are these not the only two? These are not the only two culprits in this devious set of schemes. Every public-facing political figure and past sitting politician, practically of the last 40 years, let's say, even almost 50 years, you could say is complicit in this. An overwhelming number of them, and so Ronald Reagan is a pretty bad guy, and his kinds of policies that he did on a domestic front are ghastly. And this at this time, you can say this of almost any moment in the past that prior to maybe a few years ago, we could have done something to reverse climate change and this hegemonic power. I believe that what we're looking at is a need for revolutionary action to reverse climate change and this hegemonic power. But in January of 1981, this could have been perhaps done institutionally in a different way. So you can imagine a world where there was no third way, Democrats just becoming Republicans, and Republicans just becoming fascists. That's represented by this person Reagan. You can imagine a world where the United States actually became a green place and became something pushing up to a social democracy through ordinary measures. Not to sound conspiratorial, but the existence of things like Project Paperclip and Operation Gladio and 100 other things along these lines suggests their influence suggests to me that this could have never happened. But it's plausible that the United States could have become something not leading the charge and enforcing capitalism's climate apocalypse at around this time. It's reasonable to focus on the how Reagan's imperialism and Reagan's domestic policy genocidal actions were worse than other presidents. It is very reasonable, but unfortunately, to single him out as a culprit, I believe, is to whitewash the misdeeds of many, many, many others, almost every American. As I said, there's a better part of 400 million people in this country. If you remove minor children from that, I would still say there's about 300 million fascist sympathizers. I don't know if minor children can be said to be fascist sympathizers or not. just kind of kids running around. But this country is overwhelmingly fascist sympathizers now, so the problem is not just Reagan. The problem is not just the man with the funny mustache giving speeches. The problem is fascism itself, far-reaching set of institutions. I'm going to read parts of an article that I wrote that I think touch upon how this techno-revolution should occur, and why is it a techno-revolution and not simply the revolutionary action of yesteryear, the things that have led to socialist governments in other countries. Well, the world is different than it was in 1958, in 1915, in all of the other instances of socialist revolutions that led to countries with socialist constitutions and a mandate for building a communist world. These are good things. A communist is someone who is merely willing to fight for a humane and sustainable economic system. There's nothing wrong with any of that, but you've almost all overwhelmingly, you fascist sympathizers, have been brainwashed into believing that someone challenging these ruling elites that are killing the planet is a bad person. It's not true, and shame on you for believing that. Brain-computer interfaces are devices that enable communication between the human brain and external devices, including computers, robots, and prosthetic limbs. Over the past few decades, BCIs have emerged as a promising technology for individuals with disabilities, enabling them to interact with the environment in new ways. Stay with me. Surgical BCIs, which require invasive brain surgery, have been the most successful to date. However, non-surgical BCIs are rapidly advancing, and it is likely that they will be able to match or exceed the performance of surgical BCIs in the next 20 years. I'll share an article about graphene connector BCIs that seem to be as powerful as anything surgical, or have that. These prototypes certainly have that possibility to outpace that. In this discussion, we will explore the evolution of BCIs and their implications for the future of human enhancement and superintelligence. Historical background. BCIs have a rich history dating back to the early 1970s, when invasive electrodes were first used to record signals from the human brain. Since then, BCIs have evolved and numerous approaches have been developed. Invasive approaches such as implanted electrodes have been the most successful, enabling individuals with disabilities to control prosthetic limbs, communicate via computers, and even restore some sensory function. However, surgical BCIs have limitations, including high cost, risk of complications, and limited longevity. Non-surgical BCIs, including electroencephalography and functional magnetic resonance imaging, have been developed as less invasive alternatives to surgical BCIs. Many of you have had these used on you. I have. EEG use electrodes attached to the scalp to record electrical activity in the brain, while fMRI measures change in blood flow in response to neural activity. Non-surgical BCIs have the advantage of being non-invasive, but their performance has been limited by poor signal quality, low spatial resolution, and high susceptibility to noise. In recent years, surgical advances have been made in both surgical and non-surgical BCIs. Invasive BCIs have benefited from improvements in electrode design and implantation techniques, enabling long-term stable recordings from the brain. Non-surgical BCIs have also improved with the development of new signal processing algorithms that can extract useful information from noisy signals. Please stay with me. This is leading to the point that I mentioned. One promising approach for non-surgical BCIs is the use of electrocortography, sorry, I can't even pronounce this word, ECOG, which involves placing a thin sheet of electrodes directly on the surface of the brain. ECOG has the advantage of higher spatial resolution than EEG and can be used to record activity from deeper brain structures. ECOG has shown promising results in controlling robotic arms and restoring some motor functions in individuals with paralysis. Another promising approach for non-surgical BCIs is the use of functional near-infrared spectroscopy, FNIRS, which measures changes in blood oxygenation levels in response to neural activity. FNIRS has the advantage of being portable and easy to use and can be used to measure activity in deep brain structures. FNIRS has shown promising results in controlling robotic arms and enabling communication with computers. Implications for human enhancement. Now we're starting to pivot. We still are not going to pivot quite yet. Please stay with me. This is not the shortest thing that I've ever read. Development of BCIs has significant implications for human enhancement, including the potential for enhanced sensory, motor, and cognitive function. Enhanced BCIs could enable individuals to control robotic limbs with greater precision, communicate more effectively, and even enhance their cognitive abilities. These enhancements could be especially beneficial for individuals with disabilities or injuries, but they could also be used by healthy individuals to augment their abilities. One potential application of BCIs is the creation of a hive mind in which multiple individuals are connected via BCI network, enabling them to share information and collaborate in real time. As an aside, consider all of the talk about advanced algorithms going on in for-profit Western media, and how little of that relates to something genuinely collectivist or genuinely involved in helping folks. Back to this story. A hive mind could enable groups of individuals to solve complex problems more effectively, and it could lead to the emergence of a collective superintelligence. It must. Your life depends on it. BCIs are rapidly advancing, and the development of non-surgical BCIs is likely to lead to significant improvements in performance and accessibility. Non-surgical BCIs have the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with technology, enabling us to control devices with our thoughts and enhancing our cognitive abilities. This technology has the potential to not only improve the lives of individuals with disabilities, but also to create a more connected and collaborative society. The emergence of superintelligence through BCIs has the potential to lead to a more just and equitable society, where resources are shared and used efficiently to address the pressing issues facing humanity. Yes, the emergence of superintelligence through BCIs is not the only path to superintelligence, or the most likely path to superintelligence, but it is a path to better superintelligence in the sense of it involving a lot more people and therefore being far vaster, but also better in the sense of it being guided by human values and not fascistic values, as the emergence of superintelligence is currently projected to do, which is why people are afraid of this, and rightly so. The development of BCIs has the potential to not only enhance our individual capabilities, but also to create a more equitable and just society. However, the benefits of this technology will only be realized if it is used in the service of the people, not the profits of corporations and the ruling class. Duh. That should seem to be obvious, but almost no one is actually living this truth. In order to fully realize the potential of BCIs, we must reject the current capitalist system, which places profits over people and perpetuates inequality and oppression. Marxist-Leninist thought provides a useful framework for understanding the ways in which capitalism exploits and alienates workers, and for organizing collective action to overthrow this system. The struggle for a just and sustainable society must also address the existential threats facing humanity, including climate change, nuclear war, and the potential risks of superintelligence itself. BCIs have the potential to enhance our collective intelligence, enable us to work together more effectively to address these global changes. However, this will only be possible if we organize collectively to prioritize the needs of the people and the planet over the interests of the ruling class. We must work to ensure that the benefits of BCIs are shared equitably among all members of society. Not everybody needs to be connected to benefit by this emergent social political possibility. This requires a socialist system that prioritizes the collective good over individual profit and recognizes the interconnectedness of all people and the environment. Fascists do not do that, not even in the slightest. They are very, very dumb and very, very destructive. Revolutionary action is needed to bring about the changes needed to ensure a just and sustainable society. This includes organizing within our communities, workplaces, and unions to build power and challenge the dominant system. It also includes building solidarity with movements around the world fighting for social and environmental justice. We cannot rely on the ruling class, in any way, to voluntarily relinquish their power and privilege. Only through collective struggle can we create a world where the benefits of BCIs and other technologies, superintelligence broadly, are used to enhance human capabilities and promote the common good. In conclusion, development of BCIs has a potential to transform the way we interact with technology and enhance our collective intelligence. However, this potential can only be realized if we organize collectively to challenge the dominant system and build a just and sustainable society. The struggle for a better world requires revolutionary action and the recognition of our shared humanity and interconnectedness with each other and the environment. Once upon a time, there was a world plagued by poverty, inequality, and oppression. The ruling class held all the power and wealth, leaving the working class struggling to survive, but the people were not content to live in this unjust and unsustainable system forever. They organized, they fought, and they won. In the early 21st century, a group of activists began organizing in the shadows. They were inspired by the writings of Karl Marx and the teachings of Lenin, and they knew that the only way to bring about real change was through revolutionary action. The revolution began slowly at first, with small protests and acts of civil disobedience. But as the people became more and more fed up with the ruling class, the movement grew stronger. Soon there were strikes, mass demonstrations, and even armed uprisings. The ruling class fought back with all their might, using their wealth and power to crush the revolution. But the people were determined to win their freedom and were willing to make any sacrifice to achieve it. Finally, after years of struggle, the revolution succeeded. The people seized control of the means of production and established a socialist system that prioritized the common good over individual profits. The world was transformed, and the people finally had the power to shape their own destinies. That, in the 21st century, that is a techno-socialist world, which will, in short order, lead to Techno-Communism. I share this graphic, I will share it again. The success of the socialist revolution paved the way for a new era of human development. With the wealth and resources of the people directed towards improving the lives of all, there was a flourishing of art, culture, and scientific discovery. As the decades passed, technological advancements continued at an unprecedented pace. With the collective intelligence of the people focused on the common good, the world was transformed beyond recognition, diseases were eradicated, hunger was eliminated, and the quality of life for all people improved dramatically. Yes, these con artists, who call themselves transhumanists, they are almost to a man, liars, con artists, and fascist sympathizers, or worse. They talk about eradicating disease, and they talk about the prospect of radical life extension. Almost none of them support the mechanisms of ordinary life extension, most notably a public health service, wherein lives are extended beyond 80 years. And as a result, the lifespans of people in the imperial core have dropped below 80 years. The United States never quite even got to that number, but its lifespans have fallen off a cliff for a lack of a public health service. Other countries that did get to that number are losing life expectancy as well. But these life extensionists are people who are engaged in a crypto-fascistic sleight of hand. Their job is to present a convenient set of lies that the public will have a passing glance at, and the pundits and real power brokers can point to and say, well, this is what we really are going to do. It's not what they're going to do. The fascist U.S. has never improved anyone's life, and this will never happen. It will happen in the way that I've described, but that requires that you inspire others to revolutionary action and be prepared to take revolutionary action of the kind described in this story. Back to this story, and then the emergence of superintelligence through BCIs transformed the world once again. With the collective intelligence of all humanity connected through the hive mind, the possibilities were endless. The hive mind enabled the people to work together in ways never before possible, solving problems and creating innovations at a rate that was once unimaginable. Climate change, once a looming threat to the survival of humanity, was addressed with a coordinated effort of the hive mind, leading to development of sustainable technologies and shift toward a more harmonious relationship with the planet. The hive mind also enabled the people to better understand the interconnectedness of all life, leading to the recognition of the inherent value of all people and the natural world. The rigid boundaries of nation-states were dismantled, and a truly global community emerged. As the people of the hive mind continued to prioritize, continued to work together, creating a world that prioritized the need for all over the profits of the few, the future looked bright. With the power of technology and the collective will of the people, humanity was able to build a better world for all. But this future was not easily won. It was a result of generations of struggle, of the determination and sacrifice of those who fought for a better world. And as the people of the hive mind looked back on the history of their ancestors, they knew that the struggle was far from over. There were still those who sought to hoard power and wealth for themselves, and who sought to undermine the collective will of the people. But the problem of the hive mind, the people of the hive mind were not afraid. They knew that as long as they continued to work together to fight for the common good, they could overcome any obstacle. And these people of the hive mind are not necessarily people who are having non-surgical BCIs being used on a daily basis. They are simply people who uphold this institution in the way that you erroneously uphold fascist power today. And you do it. Don't try to deny it. There's 300 million fascist sympathizers in this country. Everyone's been guilty of it, as have I. And so the people of the hive mind continued their work, building a world where all people were valued, where the natural world was respected, and where the potential of technology was harnessed for the good of all. It was a world that their ancestors could only have dreamed of, and it was a world that they were proud to call their own. This paper explores a few concepts. One of those concepts is that of the omega point and its inevitability. We'll call it the omega point. The omega point is a hypothetical future state of the universe in which all matter and energy in the universe are concentrated into a single point, allowing for the emergence of a new form of consciousness that transcends time and space. This essay and story argues that the omega point is an inevitable outcome of the universe's evolution, and that the emergence of a new form of consciousness will have profound implications for the future of humanity and the universe as a whole. The concept of the omega point was first proposed by the French Jesuit priest and philosopher Pierre Teilhard. And in his book, The Phenomenon of Man, Teilhard argued that the universe is evolving towards a state of increasing complexity and consciousness, culminating in the omega point where all matter and energy in the universe converge into a single point of ultimate complexity and consciousness. This idea has been expanded upon by many thinkers since Teilhard's time, including futurist Ray Kurzweil, who's argued that the omega point will be reached through the development of advanced artificial intelligence and the merging of human consciousness with machine intelligence. And neither of these two people referenced here were people who were overly influenced by Marxist thought. They could even be said to be people who are appropriating collectivists for crypto-fascistic ends. Nevertheless, there are some kernels of truth in both of their thinking that do inform the Marxist-Tech-Accelerationist worldview that I try to articulate on this program. In this paper, we argue that the omega point is an inevitable outcome of the universe's evolution, and that the emergence of a new form of consciousness will have profound implications for the future of humanity and the universe as a whole. The inevitability of the omega point. The concept of the omega point is based on the idea of evolution towards increased complexity and consciousness. The universe has been evolving since the Big Bang, with matter and energy becoming increasingly complex over time. This evolution has led to the emergence of life and ultimately the emergence of human consciousness, such as it is. As the universe continues to evolve, it is likely that consciousness will continue to evolve as well. Let's hope so. You, my friend, are not a sentient creature. A sentient creature would not facilitate or even allow the destruction of their own environment. This evolution may take many different forms, but the end result will be the emergence of a new form of consciousness that transcends time and space. This new form of consciousness will be able to perceive and interact with the universe in ways that are currently impossible for human beings. It will be able to harness the power of the universe in ways that we cannot even imagine, and will be able to explore the mysteries of the universe in ways that we cannot even begin to fathom. This is true. The emergence of connected superintelligence will make the concerns of the past look like small things, because we will have such a rich understanding of ourselves, these new entities, and the universe itself. The emergence of this new form of consciousness is an inevitable outcome of the universe's evolution. Just as the emergence of human consciousness was an inevitable outcome of the evolution of life on Earth, the emergence of a new form of consciousness is an inevitable outcome of the universe's evolution. Implications for the future of humanity. The emergence of a new form of consciousness will have profound implications for the future of humanity. It will allow us to explore the universe in ways that are currently impossible, and will enable us to solve some of the most pressing problems facing our species. Problems which are not being solved by these fascist institutions, despite what liars like transhumanists and most particularly people in tech organizations, which are mostly just injection sites for neoliberal and other far-right. Neoliberalism is far-right, and other far-right ideologies. Besides, I often mention the Transhumanist Party and these people that I rather dislike, Zoltan Isfin, Gennady Stolyarov, Dan Elton, and a few others there. But they are not the only culprits, just in the way that nearly almost every adult living in this continent is some kind of fascist sympathizer. But these people are nevertheless fascist assets, and any tech person that you interact with, you can basically regard them as a similar fascist asset. Almost no one is pushing to actually realize the goals that they touch upon. The emergence of a new form of consciousness may also enable us to explore and colonize other planets in the universe. This will allow us to expand the scope of human civilization and explore and ensure that the survival of our species in the event of a global catastrophe. You might say, well, that does some of these global catastrophe events are things that are outside of control or outside of a timeline that we can understand, but nevertheless, there have been many events besides the ones discussed, like multiple volcanic eruptions that have wiped out life forms of many kinds, including most vertebrates. The implications for the future of the universe. The emergence of a new form of consciousness will also have profound implications for the future of the universe as a whole. It will enable us to explore the mysteries of the universe in ways that are currently impossible, and it may even enable us to interact with other forms of consciousness that exist elsewhere in the universe. Let's create those forms of consciousness. Let's not speculate about quasi-metaphysical things, even the simulation hypotheses spectrum of things. Let's instead create those things. Furthermore, the emergence of a new form of consciousness will also have implications for the concept of the omega point itself. Some thinkers have suggested that the emergence of a new form of consciousness may represent the omega point itself, while others have suggested that it may represent a new stage in the evolution of the universe beyond the omega point. Regardless of how it is understood, the emergence of a new form of consciousness will represent a fundamental shift in the nature of the universe. None of that will happen in your lifetime. You will not be the beneficiary of it unless you undertake the Techno-Communist project and bring many, many people to the table in that discussion. Otherwise, we're just talking about a science fiction story. If it happens beyond the scope of your natural span of years, what difference is it to you? It will open up new possibilities for exploration, discovery, and creation that we cannot currently imagine. The role of brain and computer interfaces in the emergence of the omega point. One of the key factors that will contribute to the emergence of a new form of consciousness is the development of advanced brain-computer interfaces. BCIs allow for direct communication between the human brain and computers, enabling us to control machines and communicate with others in entirely new ways. As BCIs become more advanced, they will enable us to merge our consciousness with machines, allowing us to expand our cognitive abilities and explore the universe in ways that are currently impossible. This merging of human and machine intelligence is a key component of the vision of the omega point put forward by the this techno-communist worldview and others as well. However, the development of advanced BCIs also raises important ethical and social questions. As our cognitive abilities are enhanced through the use of technology, what will happen to our sense of self and our individual identity? Will we become part of a collective consciousness, or will we retain our individuality? These questions are particularly relevant to the context of a Marxist-Leninist thought, which emphasizes the importance of individuality and self-determination to some degree. Very, very few Marxists historically have been hive-mind collectivists, as I am, but I do not think that this is a thing to fear. Mentioning the word individuality is probably something that we could have avoided here. Nevertheless, in the following section, we will explore the connection between BCI technology and Marxist-Leninist thought, and the potential implications of the emergence of a new form of consciousness for Marxist-Leninist philosophy. The development of advanced BCI technology raises important questions about the relationship between individuality and collectivity. As our cognitive abilities are enhanced through the use of technology, will we lose our sense of self and become part of a collective consciousness? Some thinkers have suggested that the emergence of a new form of consciousness may represent a kind of Marxist utopia in which individuality and collectivity are reconciled. In this vision, individuals retain their individual identity while also being part of a larger collective consciousness that works toward common goals. Again, even a mention of individuality is something of a red herring. You will always be an individual. You will always have the option to do things your own volition. So this is a crypto-fascistic talking point, a CIA talking point that is nevertheless repeated by almost every fascist sympathizer, these many, many, many hundreds of million people across the Western world. Others, however, have raised concerns that the emergence of a new form of consciousness could lead to the suppression of individuality and the dominance of a collective consciousness that is controlled by a small elite. And those people are actually elitists themselves, protecting the existing elite. They are not concerned about the collective consciousness in any way. This is a red herring. The need for revolutionary action. The emergence of a new form of consciousness will have profound implications for the future of humanity and the universe as a whole. However, it is important to recognize that the development of this new form of consciousness is not inevitable. There are many obstacles that can prevent the emergence of a new form of consciousness, including political, social, and technological challenges. In order to ensure that the emergence of a new form of consciousness is guided by Marxist-Leninist principles and is accessible to all people, we need to take revolutionary action to address these challenges. You are not on the course of living in a utopia in your lifetime. You are not on the course, on the path of having universal super longevity that you are benefiting from in your lifetime. Not as long as this fascist West, most particularly the United States, continues to exist. Revolutionary action can take many different forms, including political activism, grassroots organizing, and the development of new technologies that prioritize collective action. This superintelligence is paramount that is the hypothesis of this program. It is important for Marxist-Leninist thinkers to engage with the implications of emerging technology like brain-computer interfaces and the potential for the emergence of a new form of consciousness. This engagement requires a critical analysis of the social, political, and ethical implications of these technologies and a commitment to revolutionary action that prioritizes collective action. In this paper, we have explored the connection between brain-computer interfaces and Marxist-Leninist thought and the potential implications of the emergence of a new form of consciousness for Marxist-Leninist philosophy. We have discussed the role of brain-computer interfaces in the emergence of the omega point and the potential for these technologies to reconcile the impulse for individuality and the need for collectivity. We have also highlighted the need for revolutionary action to ensure that the development of advanced technologies is guided by Marxist-Leninist humane and sustainable principles and is accessible to all people. This requires commitment to political activism, grassroots organizing, and development of new technologies that prioritize collective action and sustainability. The themes of this paper reflect a broader debate about the future of humanity and the universe. As emerging technologies like brain-computer interfaces continue to advance, we are faced with profound questions about the nature of consciousness, somewhat profound. The human being is the thing to concern yourself with, not the human mind. The relationships between individualism, such as it is, and collectivity, and the role of technology in shaping society. At the heart of this debate is the question of how we can ensure that the development of advanced technology is guided by Marxist-Leninist principles and is accessible to all people. This requires a commitment to revolutionary action that prioritizes collective action, as we've said, and seeks to build a more just and equitable society. In conclusion, the emergence of a new form of consciousness through the use of brain-computer interfaces represents a profound shift in the nature of the universe. While this development raises important ethical and social questions, it also presents an opportunity to explore new possibilities for exploration, discovery, and creation. Marxist-Leninist thought provides a critical lens through which to analyze the implications of emerging technology like brain-computer interfaces and to ensure a future that prioritizes individual action and collective action. The need for revolutionary action is clear and is up to us as individuals and as a society to take up this challenge and build a better future for all people. You probably, if you watch the show more than once for a minute or two, have noticed that I will sometimes say that artificial intelligence and advancing interfaces are the most powerful of many advanced technological tools in building a humane and sustainable economic system. I say this over and over again. And why do I so often repeat myself? Even this essay is repetitive in certain in ways along these lines a few times, because no one is living this life virtually. No one is living in a way consistent with this, so it bears repeating over and over again. This is the most critical thing. How, insofar as this is a criticism of the essay that I just read, I nevertheless hope that you, Frank, have a clearer idea of the Marxist-Tech-Accelerationist worldview, as I have attempted to articulate it on this program as a result of this essay which I just read. And it does relate to the problems of the late 20th and early 21st century, even to these institutions which we can call neoliberalism and Reaganism. This is a result of people not being willing to take precisely these kind of positions and to allow a fascist technocracy of an imperialist kind to supplant a good functioning world.